This hearing of the Committee on Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Human Rights will come to order. And on behalf of my ranking member, Mr. Rohrabacher, who I note is here, and myself, I want to thank the witnesses on all of our panels for participating today. The hearing will focus on human rights concerns in Vietnam. According to the State Department's Human Rights Report on Vietnam, conditions there remain unsatisfactory, and the communist government is characterized as authoritarian. Furthermore, arbitrary detention for political activists is widespread, and prisoners are routinely mistreated and denied access to counsel. The government continues to prohibit speech that criticizes individual government leaders, promotes pluralism or democracy, or questions the role of the Vietnamese Communist Party. Religious groups are forced to register, gaining approval for their leadership, thereby leaving it up to the government to legitimize individuals' practices and beliefs. This also allows the government the ability to monitor and limit the activities of these organizations. The most recent elections of the Vietnamese National Assembly were reported as being neither fair nor free, as all candidates were chosen and vetted by the Vietnamese Communist Party. The government does not permit private local human rights organizations to form or to function. It uses a wide variety of methods to suppress criticism of its human rights policies, including surveillance, limits on freedom of assembly, interference with personal communication, and detention. Despite this, according to the Congressional Research Service, the United States relationship with Vietnam is strong and growing. In July of 2000, the U.S. and Vietnam signed a bilateral trade agreement in which the U.S. extended most favored nation status to Vietnam. In December 2006, legislation was enacted by the Congress extending permanent normal trade relations to Vietnam. Bilateral trade has increased threefold in the last 5 years, and the United States is now Vietnam's largest export market, number one. It is also among the largest recipients of U.S. assistance in East Asia. In fiscal year 2007, that amounts to more than $90 million, and I find it profoundly ironic that we have a free trade agreement with a communist country in Southeast Asia, but are not allowing Cuban American citizens to visit their family members in another communist nation, Cuba, in our own hemisphere. The United States played a significant role as well in Vietnam's admittance to the WTO in 2006. We have supported their appointment as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council. Presidents Clinton and Bush have both visited the nation in recent years, restoring normalized relations after the Cold War, and President Nguyen Triet visited the White House in June of this year. While he was there, President Bush said, and I'm quoting him, "I made it very clear that in order for relations to grow deeper, that it's important for our friends to have a strong commitment to human rights and freedom and democracy. I explained my strong belief that societies are enriched when people are allowed to express themselves freely or worship freely. His words are admirable. But per the State Department's report, little indicates that Vietnam is working towards these goals today, or that human rights are a priority of this administration in its dealings with Vietnam. At a time when foreign public opinion about the United States is at its low ebb, we can ill afford to be seen hypocritical because of the disparity between our words and our deeds. It is important that we maintain an open dialogue with all nations. It's only by working with and listening to others that we can maintain our leadership position in this world. But we should not be influenced by economic gains or other enticements at the expense of our own values. American companies doing business abroad should be reminded that often, particularly in closed societies, that they are the face of America to oppressed peoples. So it's critically important that they reflect our values and refrain from any conduct that does not. Before we begin, I ask unanimous consent that all members attending today's hearings be considered members of the subcommittee for the purposes of taking testimony and asking questions. Without objection, so ordered. I also ask that the written testimony of Father Phan Van Loy of Hue, Vietnam, and the written testimony of retired U.S. Colonel Andre Savagot be submitted to the record. And without objection, so ordered. I now turn to the ranking member of this subcommittee, my friend and colleague from California, Mr. Rohrabacher,